Albath's greatest conspiracy is finally revealed. The God Knights are on the move, kidnapping the children of Albath, whilst the monster trio are ready to face off against Loki. Okay, fine. Yeah, Loki gets no dipped by Luffy. What did you guys think was gonna happen? He was already near dead.
My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined.
However, we now know which Straw Hat is going to face off against each of the God's Knight. And to top it off, we finally get to see their true powers as they continue their attack on Albath. Their plan is pretty simple. Kidnap the kids for the evil party, hold them hostage, and make the giants bend the knee. But Jaguar D. Sao isn't going to just stand by and let his students be taken away. So he tries to grab the first sleepwalking kid in line. Unfortunately for him, we get to see what happened to the PE teacher. This child is wrapped in invisible thorny vines, which results in Saul getting injured. Not being able to see what stabbed him, everyone is confused on why they cannot touch the kids. Wait, that didn't sound right. What the frick? But all of this is just making the rest of the giants feel powerless as more and more of the children start falling unconscious. However, Angie adds to the current situation as she explains that 9 of the kids are walking away, meaning that Gunko's power also has some limitations. But things start getting even worse as the kids are being pulled towards the 8th branch, the same one that was caught on fire by Loki's attack on the Adam tree. Whilst all of this is happening, the threat of the fire starts getting worse since, you know, forest fire is Albath's greatest weakness. This seems so funny to me because just imagine a Kainu dropping in and he just blazes the place with his magma. But of course, Albath have their own version of firefighters. Well, sadly, they are prevented from extinguishing the flames as they get ambushed by the giant undead creature who was manifested by Killingham from the nightmares of the sleeping children. And so, their flying ship is instantly destroyed. This kind of scales how ridiculous Killingham power truly can be because these firefighters are still giants of Albath, yet they got one shot by an imaginative creature? It's actually crazy to think the entirety of Albath, the land of the brave warriors, is completely shut down by just 3 God's Knight, who, speaking of, are just chilling in the forest as they bear witness to the chaos they created. It's here where we learn the real powers of each of the God's Knight, along with who they will be more likely facing at the end of the arc, starting with Saint Summers, who is revealed to have the Iba no Mi, Thorn Fruit, making him quite a thorny man. Yeah, I said thorny. And listen, it's his ability that harmed Saul and the PE teacher. These kids were given the special trifecta. Killingham put them to sleep and extracted their worst fears into reality. Gunko Pied Pipered them away, while Summers added some security around their bodies. And these thorns are quite sickening as we come to learn why this weirdo is literally a PDF. Honestly, man, this guy needs to be on a watch list. His thorns powers literally causes more damage the more you love the person. Hence his saying, love is both roses and thorns. This psychopath gets so excited, thinking how amazing it will be when these kids' parents shows up and tries to hug them. Due to a parent's immense love for their child, the thorns will rip them to pieces. And Saint Summers is looking forwards to seeing the children's faces when they realize their parents had died in front of them. To this sick hobo, even murder can be passion. However, there is one person who will be able to put a stop to this madness, and that is our very own 5 Anji.
Oh my god, bro.
Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck?
Yeah, I know his stocks are at an all-time low right now, but think about it. Summers cannot shut up about love. Every sentence this guy says has the word love in it. His version of love is sadistic in nature, and the only person that can destroy this ideology is someone like Sanji. Of course, there is going to be a damsel in distress. Probably good, since 5-Anji is following in the left hand of the Pirate King's footsteps, where he would likely have to take care of Summer's powers and ideology to go from the black leg Sanji to the mountain lover 5-Anji. It'll literally be Thorny versus the Horny. Who would win? However, during this, we get a deeper understanding of the other God's Knight, Saint Killingham's ability, and is exactly what we predicted. He has the mythical devil fruit Ryu no Mi, model Kirin. Having fully awakened his fruit, my guy can materialize anything from anyone's dreams into reality. And where have we heard this before? Exactly, Luffy himself. Yep, Luffy too has the power of his imagination and is the perfect match for Saint Killingham. Ever since Luffy met Blackbeard in Jaya, we came to the conclusions that dreams become an integral part of the One Piece world. And of course, you're thinking about dreams as in goals, but it can be taken into either sense. Luffy and Killingham could end up having a battle of imagination by the end of the arc. Also, if Killingham tries to put my boy to sleep and extract his deepest fears, I'm pretty sure we would only see some meat bones, because honestly, for Luffy, what's worse than that? Also, being so simple-minded, he might not have anything in his mind at all. But that leaves us with one more, Gonko, the only non-celestial dragon amongst the knights. I'll concede there are similarities, but I have a better theory in mind as to why she dons such attire, and it links back to Bonnie's mama Ginny alongside Koala. Both of them were in Marijoa around the same time. We know this because Koala was only freed 12 years ago and Bonnie is literally 12 years old, meaning her mama was there with Koala for at least 2 years. My theory is that some of the God Knights were handpicked at birth from the batches of celestial children who were sired through a selective breeding process. Leaving aside the tyranny and obsession for power over others, the reason they go around kidnapping women is to breed and also use their children for their means. And I believe that if Bonnie wasn't afflicted with a disease, I'm sure she would have been pushed into becoming a knight herself. But Gunko must have been a celestial child taken in early on. But here is why Ginny is important. Well, it's the knowledge of Nika. Leaving aside the idea of Imu using her as a vessel, the intel of Nika is strictly guarded. Only a few knew about it, including Ginny, who learnt it from Kuma. What if Ginny spoke about Nika to Gunko when she was a child, and how Nika would liberate the oppressed? Coincidentally, Fisher Tiger, who would later become the captain of the Sun Pirates, broke free from Marijoa. In the process, he freed many slaves, including Boa Hancock and her sisters. It wouldn't be odd for Gunko to perceive this attack, and the abandonment of her slave companions was all because of Sun God Nika. This in turn could have manifested a fear towards him, especially since afterwards, feeling lonely, she just worked harder to find her place within the knights. But who will face her? Well, the only one left out of the monster trio is Zoro, whose free sword style would be perfect match for Gunko's arrow. She will try to send him to her chosen direction, but of course, Zoro will get lost and will be immune to her devil fruit powers. And now, if you guys don't know, Zoro's horrendous sense of direction is not just a joke. It has a deeper symbolic meaning tied directly to his swordsmanship, his spiritual journey, and his eventual awakening. This is because it represents his internal dissonance and untamed warrior spirit, still searching for alignment with his swords. He's powerful, yes, but not yet fully harmonized. Hence why the key to his next stage is, of course, mastering Wado Ichimonji, which literally translates to straight line through the path of harmony. And when he does finally manage to master it, Zoro will have metaphorically and literally find his sense of direction. However, with all that said, Oda might also just take a different route than this, where Zoro's matchup might just end up being Killingham and Gunko's being Luffy. Killingham has the Ryu no Mi mythical devil fruit, where though mind you might seem to be part of the dinosaur ancient zone family, but is actually of the dragons. He has the mythical Kirin type, which is based on the Qilin Chinese dragon, and his powers isn't just limited in manifesting bad dreams. He can literally bring anything into existence, as we see when he prepares an imaginary dinner for the knights. To get salt, he quickly puts Saint Summers to sleep whilst he thinks of it, and then is able to extract the salt into reality, completely completing his perfect 0-calorie dish. He even talks about how the demons manifested from the kid's dreams, but in Japanese, this word is written as Muma, which means dreams, fleeting illusion, and darkness. There is actually a Pokemon in the second generation, which is also known as Muma. And can you guess what type of Pokemon this is? Yeah, it's a ghost type with the epithet of the demon of dreams. But we also know Zoro is the biggest demon and a samurai who traditionally are paired up with, slaying dragons. This matchup actually seems more plausible. And let's not forget, Killingham isn't just any dragon, he's a black dragon.
Police brutality coming up.
In the case with Gunko, with Scamstone away, she is the current leader of this operation. With her fears being Nika, it only makes sense that she would face off against Luffy. Also, with all of our theories about how she's connected with Emu, being chosen to have the mark for the summoning circles, her eyes, and then of course the arrows, it's just too much of a coincidence. But hey, Gunko knows Luffy is present in the island and is more focused on completing their mission, where they need to direct the kids to the harbor, steal a ship that's docked at the village, and make their escape. This actually adds to our theory that Emu's shared power cannot be used by people without the mark, hence why these giant kids cannot travel through the summoning circle. Regardless, right as of this moment, these kids are still in trouble, as Summers complains that this game is too easy. However, Gonko states that the Straw Hats are in Elbaf, so things might get a bit complicated. And to top it off, Gunko reminds us why she belongs to the world government in the first place, as she doesn't give two shits about the kids if they were to die in the impending fire they are heading towards. In fact, she just says, I guess we'll just have the next batch over. Yep, worthy of a holy night.
Fuck them kids and fuck you too.
Meanwhile, the air is still tight in the underworld, with, of course, Loki's liberation. He threatens that no one can stop him, whilst being gassed out. Let's give the guy a break, alright? He did just, get clapped by Cerberus, and then earlier, he was beaten to near death by Gunko. So standing up right after that is kind of impressive. But most importantly, we also learn why nobody took his giant ass hammer away from him. It was because nobody can lift it. Yep, it's literally like Thor's hammer Mjolnir. Now, if the lightning is inherent to Ragnar, we have yet to see Loki's devil fruit powers. However, the way Hyrdin responds to Loki's threats suggests that this is his power, because whilst Hyrdin and his crew cannot see that Loki is busted up and can't really do much in this situation, so he's trying to bluff his way out of it, Luffy and Zoro can. In fact, Luffy's like, this guy needs help. But after realizing that he needs to defuse the situation, he goes in to sort things out. It's here where Hyrdin says Luffy needs to watch out because he'll get zapped if he goes near, implying that's pretty much his main ability. I also feel that this eliminates the possibility that Loki has a Logia, where unlike Enel, Loki might just have a mythical god fruit of the thunder deity himself. Leaving that aside, Luffy is more concerned about Loki's health, and to prevent him from, opening his wounds, he puts him down with just one punch. Yeah, that was pretty anticlimactic, wasn't it? But hey, Zoro even confirms that Loki is on the verge of death, and of course, Luffy, with probably the highest emotional intelligence or EQ amongst all of them right now, is begging everyone to help Loki, as he doesn't want to just watch and let someone die, regardless of who they are. But that's not all. Luffy still has to ask Loki about Shanks, and knowing him, he's not letting this go anytime soon. Moreover, it's pretty obvious that Loki is a good guy, and the only person who can recognize this trait of his is Luffy. And so Gerd starts treating Loki's wounds even though she's not too happy about it. They instantly start the blood transfusion, stating that it would take several months at least for him to fully recover. In the meantime, Luffy is just chilling on Loki's huge horns. But seeing his brother all down and beaten with his horns out like that gives Hyrdin a flashback to the time when he was a young boy, when he remembered his father, King Harold, telling him and his brother that they both are his precious son. son, and he wants them both to get along when he's gone, and so they can support Albath together. But sadly, as a child, we see Hyruden's mistreatment as Loki slaps him up easily. But defeat is not the only L Hyruden takes, as his own brother continues to disrespect not only him but his mother as well. Calling him a bastard and a weakling is fine, okay, but Loki crosses the line with a single word which would straight up piss off anyone. He said his mother is a dirty that was the wrong translation. Oh, okay, he just said that she has dirty blood. That's not that bad. Alright, fine, that's pretty racist. But hey, a thing to know here is that Kid Loki's choice of weapon reminds us of something we have previously seen. Yep, it looks like Kaido's cannonball, but more importantly, even their horns looks the same, meaning our theory that Kaido having a special lineage going back to the ancient giants might actually hold some weight. I always wondered why Kaido chose to make Onigashima his base. I mean, I know there is a lot of strategic reasons, but to me it also felt personal. He literally wanted to make it the capital of his new Wano, where he prepared to lift it and drop it into the middle of the country. And there's no doubt that the skull on Onigashima is of an ancient continent puller, the same race Oz, Oz Jr. and even Loki is a descendant of. But I'm starting to believe that these bones are of Kaido's direct ancestor. Regardless, Hyruden, remembering all of Loki's disrespect, becomes infuriated. So he picks up his axe and prepares to end Loki right here and now, which surprises everyone. Rodo and Stanson even jumps in to stop the situation from getting any more worse than it already is. However, Loki still stays calm and drops the biggest bombshell of a revelation along with straight up facts that shuts his brother up. He tells him the entirety of Albath is in chaos right now, and all Hyruden can think of is his personal drama, which in fact was a lie. Loki didn't kill his father, he was framed. This comes back to our theory, how King Herald, along with the higher ups of Albath, were tricked by Mother Carmel to give up their arms and work with the world government. King Herald was fooled and thought that he could actually pave a path for Albath's giants to join the rest of the world. After Mother Carmel's death 62 years ago, the government must have tried a different ploy and eventually managed to convince King Herald that if he cooperates with the world government, he will be able to achieve his dreams where the giants will be accepted worldwide. Remember, around this time, or maybe not too long ago, Queen Otohime began her campaign for the coexistence of humans and fishmen alike. However, Loki must have overheard or figured out that the world government are just using his father. And so when he went to inform his father 14 years ago, everyone just thought he was a nutcase, being Loki, the bad omen who causes problems all the time. So why would they believe him now? This unfortunately led to a great battle within the castle. However, Loki didn't kill anyone. In fact, something devious was happening behind the scene. The God Knights were at play. And we know from chapter 1140, when the Holy Knights asked Skamrock what are they doing there in Albath, they asked if he is here to visit King Harold's grave. This connection leads to the idea that Skamrock might have been the one who took his life. Another clue is the summoning circles. If it really did allow the goddess or anyone to travel anywhere they wanted, why did Saturn even bother traveling by ship to Egghead in the first place when he could have just instantly zapped there? There must have been some preconditions, and one I believe is the user had to be there before or set some conditions in place, meaning that the God's Knights must have been in this very castle once upon a time. Who knows, maybe an old God Knights user had Duffy's fruit and used it on Loki, which caused the massacre to take place. Let me know what you guys think about this conspiracy theory down below. But if you guys want to watch more peak fiction, then make sure to watch this video next.